as the president continues to approve more money for Ukraine, the U.S. is still scrambling to restock weapons that are sent into Ukraine as well. Because what do you think is an acceptable ratio for how many, say, Javelin missiles you send versus how many you keep? Right? Is there a good rule of thumb about that? Like, should you send all you've got?
Well, let's apply.
Should you keep a few?
Let's apply it to like our daughter, like our 5-year-old. Like when we give her some candy, like pretend that the candy is Javelin missiles. Like what would we say to her to share with her brothers and sisters? Like how many is acceptable for her to, like when she hits the piñata and she gets the candy and no one else got the candy?
I don't think this is a good example. Let's use something like dolls, right? Because it's not a consumable. Like you're playing with other kids. You need the other child to have a doll in order to play, right? So we like war. We want other people to have war missiles. So it's estimated that the U.S. has sent now 1,400 Stinger anti-aircraft missile systems and 4,600 Javelin anti-tank missiles since January. And the worry is now that we may actually run out. Then what, right? So most of these are made through Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, which are having a halcyon day for their stocks right now. And so what? We're sending money, we're sending missiles. What we're really trying to do, though, is avoid sending live human bodies that are not contractors.
Right. So remember, we can send all of these weapons, everything else, but we don't. If we start sending human beings, that's when it's actually technically labeled a world war. Like we can send as much crap as we want, but remember what President Biden warned us the other day. This was last week when he said, make no mistake about it, guys. When you start sending humans in there, if you parse his words, it's not just tanks and so forth. When you had to send the humans, that's when it's World War III. Don't kid a kidder.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment.
Oh.
The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening technically today here on the show, but that's what he said. That the idea that we're going to send in equipment, tanks, aircraft, etc., make no mistake about it, and you put men on the ground, that leads to World War III.
But then he turns around and says, we are actively trying to avoid World War III. So we're not exactly sure what they're doing other than running up your tax bill, right?
Well,
making more weapons, sending more weapons, asking other countries to send weapons. So, yes, who was
I have to
talking?
disagree with all that anyway, because I believe it is an economic world war, because the whole world is going against Russia right now with sanctions and stuff with their economy. So it
Not
it
the
is
whole
an
world.
economic.
There are actually more countries than you think that support Russia. Azerbaijan, Armenia, maybe not ones that are in the mainstream news.
Right, that's what I mean. Like
Iran.
The mainstream.
These are not just like countries that we don't care about, although, do we in American mainstream media talk a lot about Armenia? No, but these are Iran. Yes, these are countries that have resources and power and stand with Russia. Iran, which has nuclear weapons, like this is to think that like the whole world is against Russia is just something that the West wants you to think, but it's not true.
Just look at these numbers, though. I mean, David, your question, like why? Like again, it's an economic war, but it is, and to your question, why? I mean, it's simply to make these companies rich. That's it. Follow the money. That's all you need to do is follow the military-industrial complex money. Look at these Javelin missiles. They're made through a partnership with Lockheed Martin and Raytheon Technologies. Stingers are produced solely by Raytheon. The former employer of Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, who served on the board of the weapons maker before his post at the Pentagon. He worked at Raytheon. Mm-hmm. Like the Secretary of Defense worked at Raytheon.
People forget too during Iraq. Okay, when the Iraq war was going on, the Iraq conflict, whatever you want to call it, it wasn't a war. The Halliburton had a company over there that had a different name, and they were charging like $35 for a Pepsi. It was like $100 for a bag of laundry to be done. The soldiers didn't pay that. We paid that back to Halliburton for all the stuff. So they inflated all the prices of everything. So when there's a wartime like this, the prices of all this stuff goes up, and we pay the bill for it to these corporations. So I wonder how much each of those missiles costs us.
That's a great question. I mean, and do the American people watching right now, do you want your tax dollars going to these clandestine proxy wars that you don't even know about. I mean, again, we're going to talk a little bit later here in the show about Yemen, and I'm going to hopefully knock you guys over the head a little bit and show you some details that are going to blow your mind. And we're going to look at, where these weapons come from. I mean, you literally have Raytheon weapons turning up at funeral attacks by the Saudi government. Saudis attacking Yemeni civilians during funerals, and journalists who go in and then find the casings of these missiles, says right there in the model number, shows Raytheon built in Arizona in the United States of America, paid for.
I thought there was a microchip shortage. So the companies that are making vehicles for war are not suffering in the same way that any kind of consumer vehicles have been suffering.
You know what you're talking about sounds a lot like, remember when Tony Stark, he's over there in the desert and he sees his missile and it's like being used against him, and he's like, holy cow, I'm funding this, and he kind of starts to turn his thinking around to not do that. But it's like, we know this, but we don't stop it. We don't do anything to stop that. We have missiles on every side of every argument. So it's like, if we have the opposition and we have the offensive side or whatever, we're arming them both in many cases. I bet you some of the weapons that Russia uses, we provide.
Yes, that was in the newsletter yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we were using weapons we bought from them.
Right.
Sorry, I forget.
Yeah, who knows? Wrestler X in our chat, I want to say this. Wrestler says, hey, Clayton, it really irritates me when y'all talk about things that the U.S. government is doing, but it hurts us financially, or that it's against U.S. citizens, but there isn't anything we can do to change it. I disagree. I think there's a lot we can do to change it. I think there's a lot we can do to, whether it's, hey, you do not want these politicians that your district supports, you can be the change, right? You can start to go to these town hall meetings and stand up for a change. I mean, just one author yesterday in Canada stood up during a foreign minister press conference and said, why are you supporting this Ukrainian aggression? Why are you funneling money from Canada into this war? Why is Canada a part of NATO? And she had to answer for that, and calling to try to get Canada out of NATO for supporting these endless wars in the West. Why is Canada involved in this? You can be the change. It can be small, but you can start to affect change by holding meetings with your family and friends. You can share this show with people so they become more informed. You can start to get together and have dinner clubs together and start to share this information. There's a lot of ignorance out there. I mean, people just flip on CNN or they flip on Fox, and that's all the news they get.
Yeah.
They're so woefully ignorant that this is how you can start to affect some change.
Well, and the thing is, we are in an information war. I mean, that's the thing. And so just having that information is vital, because if you just went with the narrative, we would be completely unaware of how much we're getting fleeced by the corporate elites that are really running everything. And so just shining a spotlight is a powerful weapon.
Put another tip in Alex Jones's jar, the InfoWars. He's been, saying that for a very long time, that we're in an information war.
If only he didn't try and also sell us supplements, then maybe we would listen to him.
And the gay frogs. So
yes, yeah.
I mean, I asked him about that. I had dinner with him one night. I asked Alex Jones about these gay frogs, and he just went off on it. He kept talking about the gay frogs, and Tucker and I were like, all right, okay, settle down.
Relax, young man.
Yeah. And by the way, he sells us supplements. He goes off on how we should be eating all these supplements to really take care of our bodies. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna put that out there.
What? Oh, okay.
I think he's 2 steps away from a heart attack, is what I'm saying.
Well, he looks very inflamed.
So all I'm saying is
the stress can do that to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, yes, the supplements thing. But my biggest concern about him is I don't want my whole website taken over by supplement ads every 5 seconds,
right,
where it consumes. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a membership program. For the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support independent journalism just by going to morninginvest.com/join.
You get access to exclusive videos, plus the ability to join and chat with us live. We really appreciate your subscription, and you are supporting independent journalism.